When I was young, math attacked my village, which is why history tends to be the subject in school that I was most attracted to. I really saw it as storytelling, and I was always drawn to it, and I still am, even with my action figure collecting today. If you're used to this channel, you know we usually talk about action figures, not, well, sometimes I do throw in history, but it does tend to percolate throughout my life, and from my action figures to my book collection. And hey, even my book collection sometimes gets an action figure because that awesome pop of Colonel Mustard looks so cool on an Explorer bookshelf. All right, anyway, I digress. So yes, always loved world history, and after college I had the very fortunate opportunity to go visit some world history and go to Egypt. That's me on the camel. Well, okay, so that's me and my two friends, Brian and Greg. Brian's in the middle, Greg's got red shorts, and I have the dorky hat on the right. So yes, dorks we were in America, and dorks we were in Egypt. But you know what? That's what toy geeks do when they go on vacation after college, right? We go and we pretend we're Indiana Jones while we run through the pyramids and, pre-posed pictures. What can I say? It was, a once-in-a-lifetime thing. Well, maybe not. I'd love to go back. The point being is that, yes, my post-college trip to Egypt with my two best friends from high school was like walking through history. And it was amazing. While, yes, we kind of made fools of ourselves pretending we were in Indiana Jones movies, and I'm not the only one. Everyone did to join in on the fun. Point being is, it was amazing to be someplace that was so historical. And it's what got me so interested in Egyptology. If you haven't seen, on Sunday mornings, I teach a weekly course on hieroglyphics and how to read them. Lots of pop culture jokes in it, too. So if you like the channel, you might like to learn hieroglyphics this way. But back to action figures, what this channel is about. So I've established I like Egypt. Well, if I want an action figure of Egypt, specifically ancient Egypt, there's not many choices out there. There's, themed Batman figures, Egyptian Batman. Egypt works as a theme, or much like the same thing in this Power Rangers line with King Sphinx. It's an Egyptian themed bad guy. He's not necessarily from Egypt. But I bought it, and it's the only Power Rangers toy I own. I bought it because it has hieroglyphics on it. How many toys actually have that? Of course, I translated it and it's gibberish, but, well, I guess you can't translate gibberish, but I read it and it was gibberish, but I thought maybe it would, like, say his name or something. Either way, yeah, you're limited. There's not that much if you're a student of history and you want action figures. I have pretty much bought everything that was ancient Egypt action figure related. This incredible set that McFarlane did, like, God, almost probably 2 decades ago now. The only one I regret not getting was the Playmobil series, where they did a whole Egyptian set, not just doing two different versions of a giant pyramid with ridiculous amounts of piece count. And I so regret, but I don't know, I had like no place to put it. And these things had, they took up a lot of real estate. But the cool thing was it was like a whole world. It wasn't just the pyramid. You could buy like all these Egyptian sets. And unfortunately, they're retired now, and they're really expensive. But maybe one day I'll go pick them up. Really, the only thing they have now is the Scooby-Doo set. But hey, again, hieroglyphics showing up on toys. Doesn't happen that much. Either way, well, yeah, that should actually go the other direction. All right, that's not the point. The point is limited choices. You're pretty much looking at museum toys at this point. A lot of slug figures, kind of like Green Army men, but Egyptian versions. Sometimes you get lucky and there's a bad guy who uses Egyptian theme, and you get several toys that incorporate this, and you get to choose from, articulated, Kenner retroaction, or even, pop form, and which, all brings up the diversity of the toy form, and we're going to circle back to that actually at the end of the video, so put a needle in that. The point being that, yeah, there's not that much. So is it too much of a shock that when I was the brand manager at Mattel overseeing Masters of the Universe Classics, I put the Egyptian-themed supervillain in our line? And I have to say, oh, that's Neptu, who you're looking at, and he has the power of the sun, and he transforms from an old man into this giant form and battles He-Man, and he owns an episode. There's not that many actually villains that really own their own episode, and that was part of my impetus behind putting him in the line. Was Evil Seed, Neptu. There weren't that many that really are not part of Skeletor's crew, if you will, like a third villain. But Yeah, and obviously, and, well, and I put him in there too because yes, I like ancient Egypt, and I wanted to have an ancient Egypt action figure for my He-Man line, and that's what you get to do when you're a brand manager. And boy, did I get crap over it! Like I understood most of the things that people had issues with, but they wanted like Batros or Voltac, and the fact that we released Neptune before them, I don't know. I'm usually was like in lockstep with what the issues people had, like black plastic or shipping issues. But this one, I just didn't get. I mean, surely you can't be serious.
I am serious. And don't call me Shirley.
All right, so fan squabbles over my choice of the Egyptian-themed character in the Motu Classics line aside, Egyptian and all historic-themed characters have always fascinated me. There haven't been that many toys of characters from history. I mean, Accoutrements did a really fun series, God, 25 years ago now? Oh, God, it's aging me. It was historical characters blended with some literary characters, some fictional characters, things like that. They were also notoriously the makers of the Shushing Librarian action figure, which was both a hero and a villain for librarians around the country. Don't ask, before I met my wife, I dated a librarian, and this was a whole issue, this action figure. Anyway, that's not the point. The point is that history is awesome, and it's kind of puzzled me how hard it is to find action figures based on historical battles, historical dress, cultures, etc. And, there's just so much diversity. Well, you're really dealing with the entire world, if you will. And by the way, I apologize if any of these images are offensive. I grabbed them because they were mostly visually interesting. If I'm showing a battle of a culture subduing a culture that you don't feel should be subdued, or likewise, my sincere apologies. There's no politics behind these images other than I think they were pretty and represent lots of cultures. Why did I go into that voice? I don't know. All right. Let's take a step back. So, yes, history provides unlimited content. And why is it that the only history-based action figures we get are, if you will, metal slug figures, like the traditional metal soldier, like what W. Britain does, etc.? These have been popular for the last 150, even 200 years, probably going back to the early 1800s. So if I want Egyptian warriors, if I want an action figure, the closest I'm going to get is, choosing Egyptian Batman and putting on the mask that I guess gives him more of an Egyptian look. I can't really get anything but non-articulated metal soldiers. I mean, they're beautiful, and it's like creating a painting. And that really ties it all together because cultures have been creating paintings and representations of their battles, which are they're colorful. And they obviously are celebrating their victories over their enemies, or et cetera, not getting political, just historical. And point being is that we as action figure collectors do this exact same thing. We'll take a famous scene, a famous painting of a famous scene, and recreate it in action figure form. We do this all the time. But we tend to limit it, and we do, to pop culture, to movies and TV show and comic book characters. So that really just brings about the question is, with so many things to love about history and the ability of action figures as the only medium that can, if you will, transpose all genres and all copyrights and all historical eras. You can pose a future character next to a past character. And action figures as a medium prove that you can take one character and release it in many different form factors in the overall action figure category. And I wonder why this isn't taken advantage of more with historical characters. Why do we only get these metal characters? Why not all those other form factors within the general figure category? Articulated, pops, you name it. Is this something that you ever think about? What would you think about historic action figures? Would you buy them? What history era would you be interested in? I'm honestly just curious about having a discussion. Leave it in the comments below. I'll definitely join in. And I'll see you guys in the next video. Thanks for supporting the channel.